Welcome back, Soulful Society, to Soulful of Wellness.
The multi-generational podcast brought to you by two functional imperfectionists
And certified coaches
who deliver tips to live your most authentic and balanced life.
Today, we're talking all things tech wellness, from phone addiction to the lasting effects of all this screen exposure on your brain and health. We're giving you the Soulful of Wellness guide to curb this unhealthy habit and reclaim your life. By the end of today's episode, hopefully you'll feel empowered, centered, and more present in your everyday life.
I love that.
All right, so this week's episode really came up because I started to become very aware of my heavy reliance, I'll call it, on my cell phone, or I just became very observant as to how much time I was on my cell phone.
And that's interesting because in my observations, you're on a typical amount for your peer group, basically for your age.
Right, probably. I have been very weary of looking at the screen time report on the iPhone for whatever reason. So I turn off all my notifications because ever since we did the last tech wellness episode, which I think was 2 summers ago now, I learned that turning off your notifications is a really good way to curb the habit, and we'll get into that later. So I never check screen time, but for some reason, it still pops up every Sunday on my iPhone. It says, here's your report for the week, and I'm too terrified to look at it.
That's one of those recent updates. It gives you those weekly analytics.
Yeah.
Mine's deceptively good, my air quotes, because my phone just does my phone. My old, I call it now my travel iPad, and then my new iPad that I keep at home so it doesn't wind up looking like my old iPad, they each have their own analytics. So if you look at any one of them, you'd think, wow, Kit, you're not at all dependent on your devices. Good for you. But if you add them up, the picture isn't so pretty.
I think most of us can relate to that. So in today's episode, we're going to talk all things tech wellness, how to spot if your habit has maybe gone into the unhealthy territory, what to do about it, and how to create your own customized plan and set your own goals to help with your wellness in this area. So pretty sure we all know that excessive smartphone use has a general negative impact, especially to our psychology and our mental health. But how do you identify if it's affecting you personally and who's at risk? So we're going to start by sharing some stories that we've both encountered pretty recently, and then we'll get into the Soulful of Wellness Digital Detox Guide.
Okay, so many different ways. Dependence on your phone, too much time on your phone can have a negative impact on your wellness. The single biggest impact area is social connection. On Sunday, I was playing tennis with my regular group of tennis friends, and it's always a good time. We don't take it too seriously. Well, when I showed up on Sunday, I was the first one there, and there were 6 boys, young men, I would estimate approximately 8th or 9th grade age, playing tennis. And I watched while it was a changing 2 who were playing each other one-on-one, and the other 4 were sitting crammed into a little bench. Every single one, every single time I looked over, staring down at his phone. Nobody watching the other 2 play tennis. Nobody interacting with each other. They weren't even parallel playing on the phones. They were staring independently at their screens on this gorgeous day outside, beautiful weather, met to get together with their friends to play tennis.
In their own world.
Just completely in a bubble. Yes.
So there's 2 dudes playing tennis, and the other 4 friends are sitting there individually on their phones while they wait to play.
And then when the 2 finished, they would say, okay, who's up next? And the other two, there'd be a lag. And then somebody would be like, huh, what? Oh, sorry. Oh, wow, you're done already? Oh, yeah, sure. I think I'm up now. And two others
Okay.
would go play.
Cell phones are like a pacifier or like a lollipop, a piece of candy, like something that's like a comfort blanket and keeps you occupied. We're so reliant on it to entertain ourselves because, God forbid, we're bored for a few minutes. And as you guys know, I'm equally as guilty of this. So I'm talking about the collective we, but when you're talking about middle school age boys, like that's even scarier that this is all starting so young
Yeah.
because you're developing these habits.
I was thinking, I am so glad. I don't even have words to express the degree of gratitude I have for the fact that cell phones did not exist when I was that age. That
Right.
basically,
Yeah.
before I was about, I don't know, 20-ish, yes, car phones existed and stuff, but nobody our age had them. They're big clunky things in bags and nobody
Right.
had them.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad because I think of all the people I talked to that I definitely wouldn't have if I'd had the option of instead playing free cell solitaire on my phone. All the conversations I had and stories I heard and just interesting little happenstance interactions, impromptu
Well,
interactions with people.
and we've talked about this before. Like, I'm kind of jealous that you went to high school and college in a time where there wasn't cell phones, texting, social media, smartphones, and you had to be in the moment. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing that I'm really grateful for is Google Maps being in the palm of my hand because I'm very directionally challenged. I don't know how you did that, but
I'm not
I
sure
really
how
think
I
it's cool.
ever got anywhere ever, but you didn't know any different. And you knew eventually you'd wind up somewhere. And yes, you stopped at gas stations and asked for directions. But once again, who knows what kind of interesting little funny interaction might wind up happening because you stopped at some gas station in the middle of
Right.
nowhere and had this brief conversation with someone you were asking for assistance.
And now here we are, though. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we all have access to this, adults, young adults, kids, toddlers, everybody. It is a huge reality in our lives. So at this point, most of us aren't actively choosing to be without a smartphone. It's very helpful in many ways, but it can be taken too far and really have a detriment on our wellness. So before we get into the digital detox guide, yeah, like I'd love to talk a little bit more about our current state of reality. For example, excessive phone use, like you were saying, it's so accessible to us at any time. Any given second, I can grab my phone, look something up, text a person. I've texted streams of consciousness a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times to friends before. Ideas, thoughts, the ADD just comes pouring out. But this can really have an interesting social impact, right?
Yes.
This idea of sort of assuming that everyone has access to their phone at all times or that everyone could have answered your text quicker or could have answered your text at all or could have screened your call. Like the social impacts of these assumptions of everyone having this mini computer or phone in your pocket is an interesting phenomenon.
Yes. All right. Here's my little story that just happened a few days ago. And have you noticed lately we are getting more and more spam text messages? I
Yes.
get all
They're
kinds of
sneaky.
junk. The way they used to sell your phone number. Well, I mean, I guess they're still selling your phone
They're
number, but now
texting
it's
you
a
now. Well, yeah,
text.
they're texting you.
And you type uppercase STOP, meaning stop sending me messages.
Yes.
So I was, of course, multitasking as we all do and doing about 5 different things at once. And I got some random one from somebody I've never done business with. And I type uppercase STOP, send. The next thing I know, I get a message from my sister because, of course, I hit the wrong text thing and I sent it to my sister and we weren't in the middle of texting. And she gets from me, seemingly out of the blue, STOP in uppercase letters, really aggressive. And she texts and she's like, I'm sorry, what did I do? What do I need to stop? And I wrote back and I was like, wrong recipient, wasn't for you, was for this gym that wants me to become a member. Sorry to alert you, but I think about how many minutes from when she received that text to when she received my text saying it wasn't for you, and how hurt her feelings were, and how many ruminating, spiraling, self questioning thoughts were going through her head, and the impact that had on her. And for even
Mhm.
if it was 10 minutes, which is probably about what it was, I made her feel really, really bad and insecure and inferior inadvertently for 10
Mhm.
minutes of her day. And knowing my sister like I do, I venture to guess that really impacted how her day went subsequently.
Oh, there's so much room for
Yeah.
misinterpretation with cell phones nowadays.
And little mistakes like that. Like,
Yeah. So there's just so many different variables going on. So that is just an interesting topic, right? This idea of our social lives and our phones impacting them.
and ultimately, our wellness, our mental state, our self concept,
Mhm.
our ability to functionally and efficiently accomplish tasks with a high success percentage. I don't know how to say it and not sound totally clinical,
No, yeah,
but
you're
when
right. I
you're
mean,
also texting a couple different people and doing something you need to do for your job and making your lunch, like
yeah.
something's going to mess up somewhere. And then I know I get down on myself. I'm like, oh my God, what is your problem? How hard is it to make a lunch? I can't believe you forgot to put the silverware so you can't eat the salad because you have nothing with which to eat
This is a perfect segue. Let's get
it.
into step one of the digital detox, which is identifying if your habit has gone into an unhealthy territory.
Yes. Okay. In the past, I didn't know what time interval to put on it. I started with in the past week, have you? But then I was thinking, once again, these are things Kaylin and I have honestly done in probably the last month or two. Real life examples of things we've done.
Yeah.
All right. Have you been honked at because you were checking your phone the way you're supposed to at the red light, only the light turned green, but you missed that part?
Yes. Have you walked into a door frame instead of through the doorway because you were looking down and miscalculated the space?
Yes, change doorway to kitchen island, the
Oh,
corner. Oh
yes.
my God, on my hip bone, my counter level is the same level as my hip bone. Oh my
Yep.
God, pain.
Painful. Painful.
And I just get mad at myself because I'm like, well, stupid. Maybe if you were looking where you're going. Right. Have you looked up, startled, like that deer in headlights moment? Because it finally registered that someone, real live human being in the room with you, has now said your name 3 times in a row and it just filtered through.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you tripped on absolutely nothing and in public because you pretty much forgot you were still walking because you were on your phone?
Yes.
Oh.
Or I've done the like where you fall off the edge of the curb. And I'm like, dang, I thought I had more sidewalk
No,
left
I've
before.
tripped up the
Apparently
stairs
not.
before. I've tripped up the stairs. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And then do you look around to see if anybody witnessed it?
Oh yeah, people have. Fully. This one woman the other day went, whoop.
Oh my
And I
God.
just
But I
kept
kind
walking. I
of,
was too embarrassed. I didn't acknowledge
wait,
her. I
I
was like,
kind of love though when someone else does witness it because sometimes the things I do are so dopey that I almost want somebody to share in it with me. Like we get to laugh at me together. Like you saw
yeah.
that, right? That was me, but let's pretend
This
it wasn't
was
and laugh.
this was after a couple of glasses of wine. And I'm sure, she was probably feeling pretty good too. So she tried to have a collective moment. I was too embarrassed. I kept walking.
And then she turned around to text her friend all about it and walked into the door, and you got to
Yeah.
laugh right back. Have you realized that someone thinks you might be experiencing a little mental break, but really you're just using your earbuds and talking to a real
Right.
life human? It only looks like you're ranting to
Oh,
yourself.
I see. All right. So basically, these are some of the examples that we came up with. If you can relate, maybe the habits crossing into an unhealthy territory, missing the train or the bus, distracted by multitasking. So you seem forgetful, or you think you're diagnosing yourself with ADHD, but really your brain is just trying to juggle so many things at once. You're not giving it the time, the space to be able to process the one thing because you're juggling too much. The basic keyword here is overstimulated. So think about it as if and oh my God, you guys, how many tabs do I have open currently? As an example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, six, seven, eight, 9 tabs. So it's like your brain has 9 tabs open. For example, if you're on your phone texting someone, watching TV, also online shopping. Wonder where I got that example from? Yeah, my personal life. So
how about researching the show you're watching to see what other people thought of it, read reviews about it instead of watching, and then I have to rewind because I have no idea what just happened in the last 10 minutes of show because I was reading about the show.
All right, so step 2, know the science. I think could be my favorite part of the episode. It feels so validating to learn about the science behind technology and what it's doing to your brain because it can help you give yourself a little bit more grace and build more awareness to sort of the why you may be crossing into unhealthy territory and learn what to do about it. All right, so your brain releases this chemical. It's called dopamine when it feels rewarded. Some apps on your phone are designed specifically to keep you coming back again and again for that dopamine hit. So that positive social reinforcement triggers the exact release of dopamine in your brain that something in real life would.
Yes. Do you remember learning in high school science class about, I think Skinner started some of the research studies, the operant conditioning with the rats, and they would have the rat push the lever and get a little food reward. And they tried out different relationships. So push a lever, get a reward, push a lever, get a reward, or push the lever 100 times or a fixed number of times, get a reward. And they found that the most effective reinforcement tool was the not algorithmic reward. So it was a random number of presses. Sometimes it wasn't very many, sometimes it was a lot, got the rat to press the bar the fastest.
You guys.
It's the same thing.
We are the rats.
We are the rats.
This is so crazy. NIH published that app programmers are counting on that drive to keep you checking your phone. So some apps even withhold and release social reinforcements such as likes and comments, so we receive them in an unpredictable pattern. When we can't predict the pattern, we check our phones more often.
And you said this to me just the other day, Kaylin. You said, I cannot figure out why some days TikTok will show my stuff to 40 people. Some days it'll show it to 400 people. I don't know. It's not the hashtag.
Right.
They try to tell us it's the hashtags.
They do. It's not.
It's not.
Social media is not about hashtags anymore. So crazy. So that cycle can lead to a tipping point where your phone ceases to be something you enjoy and becomes something that you're virtually compelled to use. So your hand is like a magnet to this phone. You're checking it. Because I feel like most of us are checking it for social interactions, for news, for anything really.
Sometimes I check it and it doesn't register that I checked it. And by check it, I mean, look at it for something in particular. Let's say the weather. I will look at the weather and go, what temperature is it outside? Because I'm about to go do something outside that I need to be dressed for. I look at it and then I realize I have notifications and I can't have those little red circles. So I start opening some other things. And 5 minutes later, I think, what was I doing? Oh, right. Getting dressed. Wait, what am I going to wear? Wait, what temperature is it? And then the cycle starts again. And I have to reopen the weather that I just looked at minutes ago.
Well, yeah, I feel like it makes it impossible. I'm exaggerating, but for an ADHD person like us to get anything done, my God. But
yeah, I don't love double negatives in general, but it's this one, I don't know a better way to say you can't not look at it, or you can't not open the app, or you can't not play another game of Freestyle Solitaire in my case.
I mean, and you know what's crazy is you described that red notification button. There is a psychology behind what colors they use for notifications, and red is a color used on purpose. For whatever reason, scientifically, I
have a little tip. I did this. The ones that get the little red notification, I move to the second pane. I move the whole app.
Smart.
And sometimes the whole folder to the second pane of my phone, so I don't have to look at it every time I have to open the phone for a legitimate purpose.
That is
It's been really effective.
Smart.
Mhm.
I turned off all of my social notifications.
Mhm.
So, but I don't know, guys. We'll get into it in a second. My stats, like, I don't know how much it really helps. I think definitely to a degree it does. But the text messages, those notifications still come in. So, all right, guys, moving on to step 3, we're going to have 4 steps. So, identifying what's your why. So, let's say you've come to realize your phone usage is in an unhealthy territory. Why do you want to make that better? How's it going to improve your well being? Is really the question you should be asking yourself.
Or is it even something you want to change about yourself?
Yeah.
I venture to guess there are some people who say, this probably isn't the best for me. However, I don't have a burning desire to change it, not enough to overcome the inertia of what I'm doing right now. So I'm just
Mhm.
going to roll with it. And at some point in the future, I'll get on that. But if you're at the point where you're thinking, no, before this habit entrenches itself any deeper, sinks its claws in anymore, I want to change it. And
And
this
it's
is
crazy.
an
So,
interesting step because we can't answer it for you. Like, we can't say,
right.
so this is why you want to change it. It's like,
I
ask
mean,
yourself seriously,
like, do you want to
why?
be at the mercy of these app programmers?
If you could look at your phone less, that would make you available to
XYZ,
more. Right.
right? Or would curbing this habit free up your mind to feel
Hmm.
more inner peace?
Yeah.
Would the positive reframe of not constantly checking for a text back by saying, I respect and honor the person on the other side of the phone and they have a life. I'm not going to take it personally. I don't know. That's up
That
to you.
what you're saying is part of my why. It's part of how I want to communicate respect to the person I'm with in that moment is by showing them basically that I'm not also staring at my phone while they're talking.
Yeah, yeah.
Part of my why is to be more present in my own life and allow my poor overtaxed brain to make concrete memories. I need to be paying attention to those things as they're happening so that later I'm not going, wait, did I do that? Did I finish that? Did I start that?
I love that. And knowing your why is the biggest question and the most common question you're going to get in a coaching engagement. What's your
Hmm.
why? Why do you want to change this habit? And it really is going to help you stay connected to your truth. So I love that, Kit.
And when change is hard, the why is what helps you keep going to power through and not just throw in the towel.
Definitely. Step 4. So this is an optional step. This is the detox challenge. And really what this is, per usual that you hear from Kit and I, is figuring out what works for you. So pick and choose these tips as you may. All right, so here's a fun idea is replacing that phone time with an activity. So Kit, basically jumping off of what you had just said about feeling like you have more space in your brain, you're allowing your brain to sort of calm down more.
Mm-hmm.
Activities that I've tried in the last few weeks are coloring and painting. So, although I did have a TV on in the background just because I think music would have been better, but I couldn't look at my phone. I couldn't check it. I couldn't use it because I was so focused on painting, and it allowed my brain to relax. And so another idea here could also be doing a puzzle, going back to that quarantine activity.
Quarantine days.
Yeah, and really just getting in the moment and getting physical, doing something with your hands.
I love that.
Similar to that in the physical realm, getting a physical alarm clock. I've heard that this really works for a lot of people. So this can help reduce your bedtime usage of your phone because you could plug it in to charge in the kitchen, for example. And also first thing when you wake up, could be an impulse to grab your phone. That way, your little friendly alarm clock can wake you up instead, and you get to sort of stay in control and start your morning off right the way you want to.
I completely get that. If your phone is also your clock, of course it's going to be the first thing you look at in the morning.
And lastly, for those of you who are more numbers oriented or stats oriented, there is the handy dandy screen time. So if you have an iPhone, I'm sure Android has this as well. If you go under settings, there's a purple icon that says screen time, and you can face your worst fear, which is learning exactly how many times a day you pick up your phone. And there's so much more crazy stats in here.
Right, but that is a really good tool for setting quantifiable goals. So maybe your goal is to reduce it by 10% a week. Well, easy to keep track of because the phone keeps track of it for you.
I'm so embarrassed to say this, but for the pod, my daily average of picking up my phone is 103 times.
All right, tell me where
That's
I'm going to
insane.
look at this. I'll share what I have.
Settings.
Am I going to settings? Okay.
Screen time, purple icon. You'll see it says daily average, and then click see all activity.
I see. It's a little hourglassy thing. Okay, well, mine's going to look deceptively good because, like I said, I do 2 different iPads and the iPhone.
I did this with my dental hygienist, and she was very similar to me. It made me feel better.
All right, I'm clicking on the see all activity. Ugh. Oh, thank God, that's for the week. I just scared myself.
God.
I was like, oh, here I am bragging it's not so bad and it's ugly, but that was for the week. So
what's your daily average screen time?
Oh, here. Mine is
1 hour and 5 minutes. That's really healthy, Kit. Nobody has that. I'm going to speak for the masses. Mine's 4 hours and 22 minutes.
Well, right, but I've got to be true, I've got to get those 2 iPads that are sitting 4 feet away from me and add them.
Okay, so that's not exactly accurate then.
Right.
All right, well.
Because I play all my games. This is like listening to podcasts and texting friends and listening to books. But my games are on the iPad because they're bigger and I can see them.
All right, so if you feel analytical, for example, you would use this screen time app on your phone to basically set a goal for yourself. So if my daily average pickups is 103 times per day, I might want to set that to a number maybe smaller, like 80 or 70, and just sort of become aware, right? Awareness is the first step to anything, especially when changing a habit. So your digital detox actually can look different depending on what your goals are and what kind of person you are.
And this is where I'll cycle it around to the beginning. And you said, have self-compassion. This is where I'm going to say those statistics, whether you've seen them or not, are what they are. They're not going to change because you look at them or don't look at them. So when you look at them, if you're horrified or if you're pleasantly surprised, have compassion for yourself. Say, that was me before I set a goal. And you know what? The worse they are, the easier, I don't know if it's easy, but the more change can happen, more room for growth.
So just be observant of your habits. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself compassion. Give other people grace. Everyone's cell phone habits are different. Try not to take things personally. And see what you can do this week to reduce your screen time to invite in more wellness into your life.
And notice what impact it has or doesn't have on you, on how you feel, on how you're perceiving your environment, interacting with others, and living your life.
Don't forget to hit that plus sign to subscribe to us. It's now called follow. We'd so appreciate you, and thank you so much for all your ratings and reviews so other people can help find their weekly dose of wellness here at Soulful of Wellness.
Thank you for joining us again this week, listeners. We really appreciate you. Peace, love, and light.
Till next week, peace, love, and light. The Soulful of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers. Soulful.